Hi, I'm Alex, and today we'll be talking about the current thing that's taking up about 60% of my brain. Welcome home! Today my goal is to compile the timeline and happenings in the lore, talk about popular theories, talk about my crackpot theories, and compile the timeline and happenings in the lore of the three most lore-heavy A's. Let's get into it.
Welcome Home is an American edutainment TV show for kids produced by the Playfellow Exhibition and, if I'm remembering right, made by a man named Ron. It ran from 1969 to 1974. There were 8 main characters: Wally the painter, Julie the joyful one, Sally the theater kid, Frank the bug-obsessed one, Poppy the anxiety-ridden mother figure, Barnaby the jokester, Eddie the mailman, and Howdy the shop owner. Wally lived in a home named Home in a neighborhood also named Home. Home, the house, was alive and spoke in Morse code. Wally was the most prominent character, essentially being the host or insert character. Wally originally couldn't speak with Home, however Frank taught Home Morse code, then taught Wally it, and now Wally and Home could communicate. Wally talks weird. He talks in broken up segments. He repeats words he says he can only see 1 minute. The next minute he says he can't. It's like stuff is fighting on him. Every clip we see, it all gets gargled when Wally's name is called.
Poppy, till then.
Oh, I don't know how to work these things, but, well, he was so insistent it'd be helpful. Do you think you can help me figure this out?
Wally almost never speaks in these clips. He also is never far from Barnaby.
Hey, I chased them down for a good reason. Because zoos were supposed to come in today. Which they didn't.
It seems it started with Poppy. So they wanted to put on a spooky play with Poppy as the main character, even though Home wanted that part. Poppy objected, being terrified. So her friends locked her in her house. Or maybe not. Maybe her house was never locked and she was hallucinating? She screamed and screamed to be let out. Frank and Julie ran over, saying it was unlocked and that she was fine. After a while, her head cleared, but she was never the same. Her cupboards all boarded up, scared something would get in. Frank asked if she was maybe high when she had her freak out. She told him no, she only smokes on her days off. Also, did I mention that these characters have days off? And also like curse and smoke and stuff. It's weird. Next was Eddie. It was Christmas Eve and no one had any mail to deliver. He tried to distract himself by wrapping his own presents for everyone else, but he questions every decision he makes. When he joins the others, they say that they decided to give him the day off, to let him relax. And he sat there with his 1p, and once again was never the same. Then there was Julie. Julie grew up with her 3 rainbow monster siblings, Franny, Bee, and Jonesy. Each of them had an important part in bringing spring. Julie was in charge of making the flowers bloom. Franny, Bee, and Jonesy were also in a band together. They kept asking and pressuring Julie to join them, but she seems very avoidant, like she wants to be as far away from them as possible.
Why, you... Back to us. Julie, when are you going to finally join our band?
Yeah, sis. What's a rainbow monster band without its dynamite drummer?
Just think of it, sister dear. A colorful quartet pushing the seasons. That sounds... Oh, no, the sounds! We're breaking up! Hang up the phone, Frank, hang up! I'm not done with Barnaby! Joyfuls?
One spring, there's a flower Julie can't open. It's not a real flower, no. It has black petals and a weird circle stack in the center. Julie starts freaking out, wondering if, since she can't do her job, that maybe she'll be sent back. She's locked herself in her house. The phone's broken. I doubt she read any of the letters Frank sent. She stares out the window. A Wally-esque shadow adorns her mirror. There's a spoon. Is it dirt in there? Is she doing heroin? No one really knows. Frank, throughout it all, seemed to be some sort of hero. He knew, at least that's what it seemed. He tried to check in with everyone in their time of need. He was being a good neighbor, even though it didn't follow the rules. Frank tried to give hints, possibly saying that Barnaby is not as he seems.
Blue don't actually have any blue pigmentation. They have to grow in soil that is basic as well, so the pine straw should be left for the other beds.
You're telling me that these flowers are liars, Frankie?
I'm not telling you that these flowers are liars, Barnaby. I'm talking about how these flowers are specially selected to look this way.
Being blue isn't anything special, pal. Don't you know that blue is all the rage nowadays?
I don't think people are painting themselves blue, frankly. Are you saying your fur color isn't natural?
I beg your pardon? I am unnatural beauty as far as you know.
I doubt you're any sort of beagle. I've never seen any blue dog before in my life. Now,
However, one day he's playing the part of the prince per usual. That's when Eddie walks in, asking to alter Frank's clothes. Did he actually alter the clothes? Was it a blowjob? I don't even know anymore. Frank starts freaking out, saying, does Eddie not remember who Frank is and their promise and stuff? And as he goes to kiss Julie, she turns into Eddie. Slowly, Frank starts to forget everything. He lost his journal? Oh, I guess that's why it's blank now. He wonders why he writes if it's always, quote-unquote, lost. In modern day, W starts a website about this show. They were sent packages about Welcome Home and decided to uncover everything. Wally and possibly Home start to leave messages on the website. W had to get rid of them. The messages were small things, basically just proving Wally's existence. W got paranoid. Also, for reference, on all the merchandise and stuff that is sent to W, it has weird black ink on it and is usually destroyed. W got sent a toy phone. All the buttons were broken, seemingly playing the wrong audios. Wally's was weird. It was never the same. Wally didn't act like the others. Wally knew W was there and that he was talking to W. W started to have dreams. Wally was at the foot of the bed holding a ringing phone, waiting for W to answer. But W couldn't move. Since W was being haunted by ringing, W also had an old TV in their home. They caught it randomly playing Welcome Home. W would sit in front of the TV, staring. They move to the garage. They don't leave. They sleep there, but mostly just work on the Welcome Home restoration project. Flash cameras hurt their eyes. They drank 50-year-old soda. They got a grow-a-bug toy, but it escaped. Quote, I don't know what happened. I woke up this morning and the egg was cracked open. I can't believe this happened. I left the garage last night, went to sleep in my bed for a change, but I made sure I locked the door behind me. I've checked everywhere in my home since. End of quote. They go sleep in their own bed. They feel better, but they once again trap themselves in the garage. Quote, I can't find it and I can't sleep anymore. I can't work. I can't eat. I can't focus. But I can still hear it scurrying around my garage. The mousetraps are starting to go untouched now. The bugle is missing. I don't have that tool ring. Not that it matters anymore. I don't know how much more of this I can take. All I do is think about my work. I've been thinking about leaving the garage door open and letting it run into another room instead. I'm tired of waiting for nothing to happen. End quote. Eventually they find the bug. Quote, when I picked it up, I felt that feeling from before. Dizzy and confused, like I was going to collapse. I'm scared it could happen again. I'm going to start sleeping in the garage again. The sounds have been keeping me up, and they're even louder now. than they were before, but at least the garage door muffles some of the sound. I think I'm gonna wait. If it's alive, it'll stop moving on its own eventually, just like anything else. I just need to be patient. The hand I touched it with is covered in that black grime. I can't wash it off. End of quote. They send a photo, but there's nothing on their hand. They send audio, but there's no scratching noise. So the current popular theories are Wally is being controlled by insert thing, or it's a cult run by insert thing. Insert thing is usually either home or an evil capitalist corporation. I do think it's a culty thing, since a lot of characters seem to have a role that they assign all their self-worth to. Eddie with the mail, Julie with the spring, Sally with the plays, and Howdy with his shop. It's clearly that something is making these instances where they fail so they can be more separate and alone and more needy. The rest seem to have like an easy way to control. Frank is probably a hidden spy to try and take everyone out, and Poppy's just a hot mess. Barnaby, I feel like he's actually one of the ones keeping people in line. Wally seemingly is a mix of the real Wally, who wants out and wants to be saved and wants his friends to be saved, and the other part of him seems to be the controller trying to puppet him. I believe that Holmes saw how no one is getting along and is determined to quote-unquote fix everything, leading to this weird culty thing. But I think what drove them to this point is probably wage slavery. I don't know though. I am shit at theorizing. The Rainbow Factory creepypasta started with a brony song called Rainbow Factory by Wooden Toaster. Basically, nothing is relevant other than Cloudsdale, a factory, quote, no soul gets through, end quote, the Pegasus device, and that making rainbows is actually very scary. Then it upgraded to being a fanfic written by Aurora Dawn on August 19th, 2011. So basically 3 fillies, Scootaloo, Aurora Dawn, and Orion Solstice, fail their flying exam. Important note, Aurora Dawn basically throws out her wing in the flying exam, and that's why she fails. That's wildly important for the canon ending. They are kidnapped to the factory where weather is made. They are tied up in a room with other fillies who failed their flying test. In the room, there is a machine holding pure spectra, aka rainbow juice. Rainbow Dash explains that basically when Luna was banished, the creation of rainbows fell onto the Pegasi. But it's basically impossible to create rainbows without unicorn magic, other than this very specific way of killing ponies in a machine to make colors and literally painting the sky. Scootaloo is upset at Rainbow Dash, so she's like, bitch, fuck you. And Rainbow Dash kills Orion Solstice in the weird machine. Scootaloo, Aurora Dawn, and some other fillies try and escape, managing to get to the unguarded catwalks. The other fillies die, but Scootaloo and Aurora Dawn manage to get to the door. However, due to the wing injury, Aurora realizes that she won't be able to survive no matter what happens. So Aurora Dawn gives up and just blocks Rainbow Dash from getting to Scootaloo to buy Scootaloo some time. So Rainbow Dash kills Aurora Dawn. Scootaloo runs through the hall with Rainbow Dash chasing her. But then Scootaloo realizes that the hall literally just is... You go down the hall and you just end up in the killing room again. When Rainbow Dash asks Scootaloo if she has any last words, she says, "You have beautiful eyes." Then Scootaloo is killed by the machine. There are 3 other endings. In one, Rainbow Dash has a psychotic break, entangling herself and falling into the machine. Before she dies, she apologizes to Scootaloo. Then a pony named, not a pony, a Pegasus, named Dr. Atmosphere comes in and kills Scootaloo and covers up the whole thing. The second one is the exact same, but Scootaloo doesn't die, the authorities are called, and Dr. Atmosphere gets demoted. And they also demolish the building. The third one is once again the same, but this time Scootaloo does not notify the authorities. And she lets the Rainbow Factory live on for quote-unquote Cloudsdale's sake. The Rainbow Factory got extremely popular, which led to a bunch of different fandoms having RF, short for Rainbow Factory, AUs, including Welcome Home. Welcome Home's Rainbow Factory AU was created by Dozazoy, however, is now owned by Your Internet Mom. I would also like to say that I cannot find the original posts, so I'm mostly going off of the fan wiki and Your Internet Mom's videos on YouTube. So basically the timeline of the RF AU is Walden. This AU's Wally is born to Wallace and Francine Darling. My guess for the year would be 1988, seeing as on the wiki it's stated that he was 37 as of last year, 2025. His father built the Rainbow Factory while also being a shitty dad. At some point, not sure when, Wally goes to college with Frank, and also his mom dies. I don't know which one comes first or how close they are together. Somewhere in here, he gets married to a girl he's known since kindergarten named Julie Joyful. I don't know, when in relation to any of this, they get married, it's so confusing. Julie and Walden had a daughter named Ophelia, which according to the wiki, which no clue where any of this information is from, Walden saved Ophelia from a burning building when she was 11 months old. But I don't know if that's actually part of the lore or if Julie and Walden just had Ophelia the normal way. But that's what the wiki says, so I don't know. One night, Walden takes Ophelia to the factory, which is seemingly a normal enough occurrence due to Ophelia knowing YN and drawing pictures for YN's door, but it seems that Julie didn't know that Ophelia was coming back to the factory that specific night and just thought that they were going to get pizza. But Walden has important stuff to get done, so he takes Ophelia to the factory. It's supposed to only be for a few minutes, and then they will go get pizza, okay? Ophelia asked if she can go get water, and Walden says that she's big enough to go on her own, and the fountain is right by YN's office. But in the hallway, a man, I presume this AU's version of home, lures Ophelia into the grinder room. Grinder 3 was turned on after hours by someone using Walden's card, but Walden did not permit it, and he didn't do shit. Eventually, Walden hears a scream and calls YN. He searches the area while YN and Barnaby are dealing with the security system. Eventually, Walden finds Ophelia's remains, and blames himself. After this, he pushes Julie away, and lays her off. Sally freaks out on him because he's not the only one going through the loss of a child and his wife needs him. Sally, the best scientist working at the Rainbow Factory, quits right in his office. She goes on to open a bakery. Eventually, Julie and Walden get a divorce, and Julie goes to work for Sally in the bakery, and I headcanon them as lesbians. For each other. Yuri. Julie wasn't told how Ophelia died, and Walden keeps not giving her the records. Eventually, Julie literally breaks in using Sally's old ID card. She rummages through the file room where Walden eventually catches her. Walden promises the records by the end of the week. Julie goes back to the bakery, and Sally promises to pretend to go back to work at the Rainbow Factory to steal the files if Walden doesn't keep his promise. However, YN comes into the bakery and takes back Sally's ID and gives Julie fake death records. A week later, Julie opens them where she learns that the death of her child was cardiac arrest. She starts blaming herself for taking Ophelia to a normal doctor and not the Rainbow Factory doctor, and Sally says that they should just close the shop for the day. Sally goes to Walden and makes a big deal about how fake the records were. She promises to not tell Julie anything because she doesn't want to cause Julie more pain, but Sally claims that she at least deserves to know. So, Walden tells her the story. Later, Walden's dad, Wallace, comes into town delivering a letter. Walden tells Eddie to throw it out, but instead Eddie takes it to YN. In the letter, there are inheritance papers that Walden needs to sign. YN meets up with Wallace and they discuss how he is dying and needs Walden to sign those papers, so the Rainbow Factory is passed down to Walden and not Walden's grandfather, which Wallace hates. YN then goes back and forges Walden's signature with Barnaby's help. Later in time, YN and Walden visit Ophelia's grave since they won't be able to visit the actual day of Ophelia's death since there's a huge meeting that day. YN goes back to find Wallace sent her a thank you letter and flowers. YN and Barnaby freak out. I don't remember the exact words. There's like a hilarious quote from here. I think I posted it on Tumblr. And it was like, YN was like, do you normally, would you send flowers to someone you discussed your death with? And he's like, no. Probably a cig, a drink. Okay, 2 drinks. I don't remember it, but it was so funny. I gotta find it. Okay. But, and while YN and Barnaby are in the middle of freaking out, that's when a code yellow is called, and basically, it means an experiment broke loose. And that's where it's ended as of me writing this, June 24th, 2026. Some random stuff I would like to point out. The wiki says that RF Wally got his missing hand from a failed experiment him and Barnaby did, which then got Wally's blood on the wall, which led to Holmes' insatiable thirst for darling blood. However, for some reason there's a part of me that just, because I used to be really into Rainbow Factory, Welcome Home, a few years ago, before your internet mom took over, I'm pretty sure, but, and for some reason, I remember something about him losing his arm trying to save Ophelia, but I'm not sure. That's purely based off of what I remember. Yeah, this is definitely the most lore-heavy one, just because I have to give the background on the song, and then the fanfic, and then the transfer of ownership. Most of the lore in this one is lore on how it came to be, not even, like, the story itself, bro. Now it is time for my favorite AU, the actor AU. It was made by Frilsan, who, mind you, follows me on Artfight. My goat. They are going to be the second one I'm fighting this art fight, because I did have one person fill out my hit list. So I'm gonna get that done, and then I'm planning 2 attacks on Frilsan. Sorry, like, my idol, the person who created my favorite AU, follows me. Sorry, anyway, but the actor AU is basically set in the modern day. Wally and the gang grew up in a small town together. Wally was abandoned at a young age and was adopted by Barnaby's mother. Slowly over time, Wally and Barnaby collected more members of the group. They met Frank, and Howdy at the same time, they had to spend like forever convincing Frank that Howdy wasn't going to turn into a butterfly. Later on, they met Eddie while he was pretending to deliver mail. One day, they crashed Sally and Julie's, I believe it was a tea party, and then they were forced to play house, which led to Wally and Sally figuring out their love of acting. Another time, Wally was lost in the woods. Poppy, being the only teen girl in such a small town, usually just hung out alone in the woods. That's when she found Wally crying behind a tree, and they literally just sat and talked. Real quick side note that I thought was adorable. Wally and Sally were band kids, except their town was so small they didn't have a band. So it was Wally and Sally, and Poppy handmade them, like, their uniforms. I think she might have made the instruments too, I don't know, but it's just so adorable. Eventually, though, they all grew up. Wally's dream was always to be a star, and he was determined to hop town and make it up to New York. His friends, being the sweethearts they all are, joined him on his quest for grandeur. Whoa, holy, since when did I write like that? Sorry. They got a small, cramped apartment, where they were always in debt. To try and help stay out of debt, Eddie became a milkman, Sally a mall cashier, Julie a hair salon sweeper, Frank a public librarian, and Barnaby a bartender. Blech. Howdy tried to join the army, but he barely made it 2 months before Wally cried enough to bring him home. To make up for it, Wally got him dog tags, which, I kid you not, say Pillar Howdy, and then quote, unquote, "I'm sorry, I was so dramatic." Like, and my sweet baby. Okay. Eventually, Howdy became a construction worker. Poppy had trouble getting and keeping a job, so she became stay-at-home and was, like, packing their lunches and keeping the house clean and taking care of everything, which is so adorable. Mind you, I headcanon Poppy as disabled. I don't know why. Like, even in main thing, I'm like, because I mean, in the actual universe, in the Welcome Home normal thing, she's, like, so big that her head falls off all the time. Like, she's my disabled queen. She's also canonically trans in the Welcome Home. Like, oh, this girl has her cards stacked against her. But anyway, in Actor AU, back to normal talk, she met a ballerina swan named Gazelle, and they became partners. Most important to the lore of the Actor AU was Wally's old job, a newspaper company secretary. In this world, humans and puppets live together, but puppets are often discriminated against by humans. While Wally was working there, he suffered a lot of verbal and physical abuse at the hands of his coworkers and higher-ups. Once it got so bad, some way, somehow, one of his arms got completely torn off. He stitched it up, but it still falls off occasionally. He also fell asleep with a permanent marker in his hand one night and accidentally gave himself a mole. My baby. Also, mind you, this whole time, at night, he's taking ballet lessons from the swan, who's giving it to him for free. Lesbians? Okay, anyway. But this man's so overworked and so abused, I feel so bad for him. Eventually, he had his breakthrough role, being the host of Welcome Home. Or it's called Wally and Friends, I'm not too sure. The original director of the show was Janet, and she hated working on kids shows and working with Wally. She gave him a lot of grief. She kept sabotaging the show just to spite the fact that she had to work there. Once she completely destroyed the set, and Wally was the first to walk onto it, and Walls literally crumbled on top of him. She was made a deal. Either she would be fired, or she would have to be Wally's assistant. She chose to become his assistant. The whole network depended on Wally working on the show, and Wally used this to his advantage, forcing the higher-ups to do his friends' requests. He ensured that his friends would never know the horrendous things humans did to him and currently do to the rest of the puppets in the industry. He would also let Poppy stay on set with him and talk with him to help him and to help her anxiety, and it's just so cute and so sweet. While Wally is nice to his friends, he is not nice to most humans. He snaps very easily and yells at the human workers when his friends aren't around. He screams at assistants over small things like caffeinated or decaf coffee. One time, the workers shoved Poppy in a closet because she was slowing down recording, and Wally refused to work till she was let out. Another time, the set had loose nails and Eddie got a tear in his shoulder. Wally flipped out at the workers. Eddie grabbed his arm trying to calm him down, but Wally swung his hand away screaming, "Don't touch me." Eddie's arm almost completely got torn off. Wally stitched it back up and apologized profusely, but Eddie knew what Wally was like, and no one else believed Eddie. Wally wasn't horrendous to every human worker, however. He was a lot more lenient to younger workers and workers on the verge of breaking down. He also loved being around children. Part of his job back in his small town was to take care of the little kids. And that was part of the reason he wanted to work on a kids show so badly. Wally was always careful and quiet and patient and understanding with kids. He knows bits of ASL and various different spoken languages, so he can talk with different kids. He volunteers monthly at children's hospitals and never turns down a Make-A-Wish. He also has a human best friend, Max. Max had a hard time landing a job because of his intimidating appearance. He worked as a bouncer, but wanted something more permanent. One night, Wally met Max. I don't know how, but he begged and begged Max to work for him. It got to a point Wally grabbed onto this man's leg, pleading, and Max dragged him, while walking 2 blocks. Eventually, Max gave in and became his hidden bodyguard. He will never admit it, but Max and Wally have formed some sort of bond and trust. And I definitely believe Wally when Wally says that they're best friends, even if Max denies it. Royalty AU was created by Neil Rose on Tumblr, and it's basically based on a set of cards. There are essentially 4 different kingdoms. The 3 that relate to Welcome Home characters are the Hearts Kingdom with heightened strength and is ruled by Wally. The Club's Kingdom with magical powers, it's ruled by Julie, and the Diamond Kingdom, which is built over before Hextech and is ruled by Frank. The ruler of spades was, quote, taken care of, end quote. While he was raised by his mother, his dad was out of the picture. Poppy and Barnaby moved to the Hearts Kingdom when Wally was young and joined the royal court. Barnaby is currently Wally's advisor, and Poppy is a sorceress. Poppy and Wally's mother were very close. In the current timeline, Wally's mother is dead, and Wally rules the Kingdom of Hearts. Julie was the last-born child to the royal family of clubs. She's still a ruler, however. That's because the child with the strongest magical powers becomes the heir. She specifically enjoys earth and plant magic. Fun fact, her kingdom is hidden by a waterfall. Also, her sister Franny has some sort of dynamic with Sally. In this universe, Sally is basically a wild card. She's neither good or bad. She's just kind of chaotic and does as she pleases. I have next to no information on Frank other than the fact that his kingdom is the largest. he has had a failed assassination attempt, but that has nothing to do with the scar on his neck. Him, Julie, and Wally all grew up together, are very close nowadays, possibly polyamory type of close. Also, Eddie's on a boat, and Howdy is somewhere. So yeah, I think that might be my longest video so far. FYI, on my Twitch, I streamed reacting to the Your Internet Mom's videos. Yeah. I really hope y'all enjoyed this. It has been very painful, cause for like a week straight, the only thing I could watch was Welcome Home related videos, which I don't know if you know, there's not many. It was very hard. Even just listening to music was hard. All my art was Welcome Home. I had to make an OC. My Tumblr instead of my usual female hysteria stuff. It was just like Welcome Home and puppet stuff. Eventually it has, like, right now it's loosened, except I'm not fully back to normal, because usually I'll be listening to like political ass shit, like politics, poetry, science stuff, analyzing real pieces of media, but like right now the only things I can watch are Welcome Home related and like FNAF related for some reason. Yeah, I might have to make a FNAF video soon. Yay! Can't wait to see what kind of dog shit OC I make for that. 'Twas the night before art fight. Right now, recording the voiceover. This will probably be posted during art fight, but right now it's literally the day before art fight, and 'twas the night before art fight. And I was stirring. I am stressing. I have my doc filled out. I have everything saved. I have the character names, the character sheets, the character numbers, like, hidden in a whole separate thing so that I can actually get my stuff done tomorrow. SOS, send help. But yeah, I should start making FNAF videos. Make a lot of FNAF videos and beg T-Dreads to let me on one of his podcasts, bro. T-Dreads has been carrying for me for a while. Like, T-Dreads, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, T-Dreads. Anyway, this has been a really long rant about non-Welcome Home related things. So, I really hope that y'all aren't bored out of your mind, and I hope that someone maybe clicks on this. Tom, I need you to come out with more Welcome Home theories. I don't give a shit about Edwin. I've made the mimic. Andrew's in the games. No, we need more Welcome Home. We need more Welcome Home. Listen to me, Tom. Listen. I'm just pleading with people who will never click on this video. Yeah. Okay. Holy shit, this is gonna be long. Alright. Peace out. Bye.